very worried already at this stage. My apologies for that. I can give you my absolute assurance that because the delay was at NUST side from my side, I will make sure that you will not be prejudiced. I have already reduced the number of assessments that I wanted to give you um, to make fit everything in. I'll also work in a vacation school next week. Next week is recess, but I will decide on a time and announce for a vacation school so that we can have some online lectures. All my online classes are recorded, and I then subsequently share the recording. I upload the recording onto not onto e-learning, onto YouTube. I have a YouTube channel that I use specifically for my NUST lectures. I'll send you the link to that where you can download the lectures. There are also some lectures of other courses which you want, if you want to or don't want to. The recordings are public, so anybody can listen to them. I do this because it's easier for students to subsequently download and watch the recordings on YouTube rather than having to go onto Teams. Teams is sometimes a struggle to get in. It doesn't allow you access and you need permissions and all sorts of strange things. Then apart from that, of course, you are very anxious about your course schedule. I was finalizing it today. As I said, I was changing some things, reducing the number of assessments, etc., to fit it in without making things too heavy on you. And I had previously, because you will be doing an assignment, I had previously set your assignment already almost a fortnight ago, and I accidentally saved one document over another one, and it asked me, are you sure you want to replace this document? And I said yes, and I deleted the entire assignment. I saved something else over it, so I don't have it anymore. So I need to reset that assignment. But I promise you, I am making sports law an absolute priority at the moment. Situation is that we have been reduced from 5 law lecturers to only 3 law lecturers this year. 2 people left at the end of the year. So everything has been a little bit overwhelming. My apologies for that. Once again, I promise you I will ensure that our NUST institutional problems, administrative problems, will not prejudice your studies. Having said all of that, I'm now going to jump straight in and start with the work. Allow me quickly to just share a document. Okay, just thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up if you could see the page that I've shared. It's literally at this stage just a blank document. Can you see that? Okay. Classroom rules while I'm teaching, because I type on this blank document, so while I'm teaching, the screen that I have in front of me, sports law and regulations. Okay, so hopefully you can all see that. I have the window with the Teams class open in front of me. So if you raise your hand, I'm not going to see that. So if you have a question, please feel free to just switch on your mics and attract my attention, call out ma'am or whatever. And then I will give you the opportunity to speak. So please do feel free to actually interrupt the class so that there can be communication. So, sports law and regulations. There is no, this is going to sound strange, there's no such a thing as sports law. What do I mean by that? Sports law isn't a particular specialized branch of law. Perhaps at higher master's level, whatever. But at the level that you are learning, that you're studying, that I'm teaching you, sports law is not a separate branch of law. Rather, the course called Sports Law and Regulations consists of elements taken from different branches of law, put together in a course, different branches of law that will all be relevant to you one day if you go into a sports or sports management career. So we'll be teaching you legal aspects that are important to your future. Specifically, what we'll be doing this semester is the law of contracts. Then we do some labor law, because you're going to be in an employment situation. So you need to know the basic principles of Namibian labor law. Law of contracts, of course, important because as sports managers or professional sports persons, whatever, you are going to be entering into contracts. Contracts are part of everyday life. So we spent some time looking in some detail at contracts. Then we look at labor law. Then we look at the law of delict. What is the law of delict? Delict is that branch of the law that deals with injury and damage, personal injury claims, damages claims. Of course, in the sporting environment, whether or not you can claim damages if you've been hurt is, of course, very important. And then we take a brief look at certain specific acts of parliament, certain specific pieces of legislation that relate to sport and to your field of study. So that is what we will be doing this semester. So to hit the ground running, we're going to start with the law of contracts today. So amongst the students that are in the class at the moment, that are attending, who of you entered into a contract today?
Not me, ma'am.
Mr. Nyambe, did you not enter into a contract today? Who bought something today? Who took a taxi to campus?
I was about to say that, ma'am.
Did you take a taxi to campus?
On the way back home.
You took a taxi. Do you know what?
Yes, ma'am.
You entered into a contract. Taking a taxi is a contract. Buying airtime is a contract. Buying something to eat at the supermarket or at the Nust kiosk, you buy a Coke and a chip roll. It's a contract. We do not realize, we tend to think that a contract is an important thing, many pages typed in writing, and everybody has to sign it, and witnesses and everything, and oh, then you've got a contract. Yes, that's a contract as well. But a contract, not all contracts have to be in writing. When you stopped, you were standing at the side of the road, and taxi stopped next to you. You said to him, wherever you're going, my case, Kleinwindhoek, and he said yes, and you get in, and he drives me to, I get in, he drives me to, yes, Mr. Links.
Sorry for disturbing. The student asked me for permission to enter the class. Name is Luciano. Must allow him to enter the class.
Yeah, I haven't received a notification. If
But
you've seen them,
just
let them enter. Just approve.
right.
Notification didn't come through to me. Please approve, Mr. Links.
Right.
So I start next to the road. Taxi stops. I say Kleinwindhoek. He nods his head. I get into the car. He drives. Tell him where I want to go. We stop there. I give him $20. It was a contract. We agreed contractually that he will transport me to my destination, and in exchange for his transport, I will pay him his given rate. It is a contract. We didn't know that, but now you know that. So you've already learned something. So let's look at, first of all, a working definition of what is a contract. I'm saying here two people, can be two or more. An agreement between two people. Let's stop there. That's not the complete definition. It goes further than that. If you have bought something, let's say you bought a loaf of bread. That's a contract. You get home and you find out there are hojas in this loaf of bread. Do you think you're protected by the law? Do you think there will be something that you can do about this? That you can take it back to the shopkeeper and claim a replacement or something? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, absolutely. Buying a bread was a contract. Because it was a contract, the law protects you. If things don't turn out the way you wanted them to, there are steps that you can take. The law protects you. We're still going to, later in a lecture, we're going to get to what the law does to protect you. But now, Mr. Nyambe, next question. Do you play sport?
Yes, ma'am.
What do you play?
Track and field, ma'am.
Okay, wonderful. Because I'm just trying to think now of an example. Okay, so track and field. So let's say next weekend there's a big athletics meeting and you're participating. Which items do you do?
400 and 400-meter hurdles.
Oh goodness, 400 hurdles. Who does that? That is so exhausting. Goodness. Anyway, so next weekend, there's a big athletics meeting and you're running the 400 hurdles. And you arrange with your best friend to come and watch you run and cheer you on. And he says, yes, I'll be there. I'm going to support you. And Saturday arrives and it's at the athletics meeting and you have to start with your warm-up and your friend isn't there anymore or isn't there yet. You run the race, you do your best, you do well, but you're very disappointed afterwards to find out that your friend never bothered to come and watch. You had an agreement that he would come and watch. Is there anything that you can do against your friend because he didn't pitch up?
Ethically, yes, but physically, no.
Ethically, yes. Morally, yes. You can be angry. You can shout at him. Preferably not physically. I wouldn't recommend beating him up with a fist. That's never a good idea. But you can't take him to court. When you bought the bread and
Yes,
there was
ma'am.
something wrong with the bread, the law protected you. But you had an agreement with a friend and he didn't do what he was supposed to do. But unfortunately, morals and friendship protect you, but the law won't protect you. You can't take your friend to court because he didn't watch you run. That's the difference between contracts and social agreements. Contracts are agreements. Social agreements are also agreements. What is the difference between them? The fact that a contract is an agreement between two or more people with the serious intention of bringing about obligations. That is what the difference is between a contract and a social agreement. Is this bit, the serious intention of bringing about obligations. So what are obligations? Obligations, rights and duties that are legally enforceable. There are social duties as well, but they're not legally enforceable. You can't claim damages or anything from your friend when he didn't come and watch you run the race of your life. But however, if some company, some athletics company promised to sponsor you with whatever sponsorship, if you ran a 400 hurdles and you completed it in less than a particular time, and you ran and you make the target, you completed it in less than that particular time, and they don't pay up their sponsorship, you can take them to court. The difference between a social agreement and a contract. Is everybody with me? Moving on. For contract to be enforceable, remember we said here that it's an agreement to bring about obligations. Obligations are rights and duties that are legally enforceable. Now, in order for this contract to be legally enforceable, there are certain requirements that have to be met. There are 5 requirements for a valid contract. There's consensus. Parties must have legal capacity. Oops, sequence doesn't matter that much. Performance must be possible. Must be legal. And formalities, if required, must be complied with. This last one, I'm saying if required, because I started off by explaining to you that contracts can be informal. You thought you hadn't entered into a contract today, and then learned that actually when you took the taxi, it was a contract, but you didn't have a 3-page document signed by both you and the taxi driver and 2 witnesses. It was just by exchange of a few words. You both knew what the obligations were. It is a legally binding contract, as much as a contract that is 10 pages long and signed. So formalities, but we'll get to this, we'll revert to this in a further lecture when I'll talk about formalities. So those 5 requirements is what is required for the contract to be valid. If any one of those requirements is missing, the contract is not valid. One of the requirements is missing, the contract is not valid. Or a legal term that we can use for that is the contract is void. Now, a void contract is a nothing. There are no rights and duties. There are no rights and duties, no obligations that flow from a contract if it is void. Then in certain instances, a contract can be said to be voidable. Now, when is a contract voidable? A voidable contract is it's a valid contract. So it is valid, it is enforceable. All 5 those requirements have been met. It's a valid contract, but something is wrong with one of the requirements. In most cases, the requirement of consensus. Which means because there's something wrong, it can be set aside by the innocent party. We're going to do this in more detail in a further lecture, so I don't want to elaborate on this too much right now, but just to illustrate that avoidable contract is a valid contract. But let's say it was based on a misrepresentation. I offered my cell phone for sale to Mashiva. I hope I've got your pronounced that correctly. Mr. Kayovi, is that Mashiva? Is that how you pronounce your name? I sell my cell phone to you, and I tell you it's in a perfect working condition. So you agree to buy it. So there is a contract. But subsequently, you find out that there was something wrong with it. So our agreement was based on my lie. There was an agreement. The contract is valid, but it is in fact voidable because there was something wrong. You can be set aside by the innocent party. If it is not set aside, it remains valid and binding. So you need to know these three terms. You need to understand what they mean. You need to know when a contract is void. You need to know when it is voidable, and you need to know when it is valid. A potential test question that you can get. I'm going to get back to that. I'll discuss that in more detail at a later stage. I'm just putting it on here for the time being. This is what we refer to as a structured application question, where I give you an example of a contract, a little scenario, and you must tell me whether this contract that I've described in the scenario is valid or not, and give me a reason for your answer, motivate your answer. Now, right now, you haven't learned enough yet to be able to do that. When we get to there, what you need to do to answer this question is to read the scenario and, no, I didn't want to do that. Read the scenario and compare it with the 5 requirements for a valid contract. Check, was there consensus, was there legal capacity, blah, 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 blah. If all 5 of them have been met, your answer is yes, it is valid. If one of these, even just one of these requirements is not there, then it is not valid, then it is void, and you explain why. We are going to get back to this. Before that, we're going to be spending some time discussing these requirements in more specific detail. Any questions? Okay, wonderful. I'm going to leave this here with you for now so that it can sink in. As I said, I will arrange a vacation school during recess. And then we will continue having lectures. Lectures will be between 1 and 2. Initially just until we've caught up a little bit on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 1 and 2. Reason why I'm doing it between 1 and 2 is there are not only full-time students in the class, there are also part-time students who are employed. So I do it between 1 and 2 so that they can also join in the lectures. Classes, as I said, will always be recorded. They will be recorded recordings uploaded on YouTube. So a vacation school next week then, and then after that, weekly lectures on Tuesdays and Thursdays between 1 and 2 until we've caught up a little bit. Once we've caught up, it might reduce to only once a week, depending on how we are progressing and how you feel. I will take my cue from you. I'll be led by you whether you feel you need more classes or not. I need to redo the entire tutorial letter, the course pack, because I managed to delete my assignment. I'm giving priority attention to that. Apologies once more for the late start, but I give you my absolute assurance I will make sure that you are not prejudiced by it. Thank you so much for joining for today. We'll see each other in class again shortly. Otherwise, if you want to meet me face to face, come and talk to me, whatever. My office is on Upper Campus in the in the office building on the third floor, room 313. As you step out of the lift, I'm just opposite the lift. Feel free, if you have any queries, to come and see me during the day. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the day. If you are traveling during recess, please stay safe. And I will announce the time for the vacation school. Thank you so much. Bye.